Now we got Mr. Stephen A. Smith.
I can't stand this man. Go ahead, bro.
Now we got Stephen A. Smith, who's mad at the BET Awards because the BET Awards decided to honor Orenthal James Simpson, otherwise known as OJ, um, because during the BET Awards, you know how these award shows, they kind of have their section or the point in the program where they honor people, and one of those people honored was Mr. Orenthal James Simpson, OJ. Stephen A. Smith didn't like it, so he took his podcast as an opportunity to engage in some serious righteous indignation to condemn basically the BET Awards for honoring OJ Simpson in light of OJ's past controversies with the murder trial and all of that kind of stuff. So Stephen A. Smith thought that it was beneath the BET Awards to spotlight Mr. OJ Simpson. So we'll go ahead and talk about that here because Stephen A. Smith is not a fan. All right, so this says Stephen A. Smith blasts the BET Awards for honoring OJ Simpson. Stephen A. Smith gets mad. It's what he does for a living. He's an overreactor. That being said, he does provide some fair insights. Stephen A. Smith correctly called out Diddy for deleting the Cassie apology video, and he was understandably thrown by the fact that the BET Awards chose to pay tribute to OJ Simpson. OJ is about as controversial a pop culture figure as there is, and Smith felt that they really need to check this stuff for grammar. And Smith felt that a BET tribute was not a fitting place to bring him up. Stephen A. Smith hashed all of this out on his self-titled podcast. He described the BET Awards as a celebration of Black culture and Black excellence in particular. As such, OJ Simpson, a disgraced former NFL star, doesn't fit Smith's checklist. Worse, the analyst feels like it casts the rest of the Black entertainers in a negative light. Quote, when you do something like this, he told BET, you got folks outside saying, see that. TMZ talking about it, NBC talking about it. When that kind of stuff happens, how do you think that benefits us? So here is Stephen A. Smith on the grand old Stephen A. Smith high horse.
Oh, my goodness.
BET Awards. This is a celebration of Blackness, of Black culture, of Black entertainment, of Black excellence.
Oh, brother.
And when you do something like this, you got folks outside the community see that shit? TMZ talking about it, NBC talking about it, CNBC talking about it, CBS talking about it, USA Today talking about it, PBS, everybody but PBS. When that kind of stuff happens, how do you think that benefits us? And that's a story that we don't get into nearly as much as we should. Did it ever occur to anybody to remind yourself of the responsibility we have? I'm not blaming any of the folks there in the audience. They didn't know. And even though BET is owned by Paramount, it's still BET. Black folks everywhere, all up in there. And that's what we celebrate. We, as a community, are going to be held accountable for that. Subliminally, consciously. People going to look at us with raised eyebrows and think as a community, oh, you down with that? You cool with that? That's what you celebrate.
Oh, my God.
The collective whole is what matters. Not one individual. God rest his soul. God will deal with him because God knows what he did. And what he didn't do. It ain't for me to judge or anybody else to judge. But we saw what we saw. The trial was televised. His actions and his dismissiveness and disassociation and distance from the Black community was self-inflicted. He created that. He wanted nothing to do with us. Where's this affinity for him? Where's the evidence that he ever gave a shit about us? I just don't understand. And I think that when it comes to something like that, you got to guard against that. I'd love to know if Tia Mowry knew anything about that. Because had that been me, and they asked me to MC that segment, and I saw that OJ was a part of it, I would not have done it. And if I was on that stage and his face popped up, I would have been mic'd up on camera and I would have been like, I don't know whose idea that was, but I don't have anything to do with that. I didn't know. That's what I would have said. Wow. Now, everybody ain't me, and I understand that. And I'm not judging in regards to her or anybody else. I'm just saying, come on. Come on.
Wow.
All right. So
we all suspect we know what he did. But nobody definitively.
What do you think about that? You think he has a point?
Look, man. No, listen. I don't think that his stance here was appropriate. I feel as though he went a little too hard on this. I don't know who he's trying to appease by saying these things. Here he goes again. Talking for black people. I mean, we just covered him a couple weeks ago when he's sitting there telling us what we want from Will Smith. And here he goes again saying that we can't honor or celebrate somebody like OJ. Now, here's my thing. He's a polarizing figure. I get it. He on one side of the fence. On one side of the fence, you got people that feels like, he's the scum of the earth. And then there's the other side of the people that says, hey, in the court of law, he was found innocent. Now, he was found guilty in the civil, but that was because, as far as I'm concerned, is that he was held liable for that situation, but that doesn't mean he did it. So in any event, in the court of law, people look at it, hey, he was found not guilty. So what are we really up in arms about? But Stephen A has gone on record on numerous occasions dunking on OJ Simpson, and he's not stopping after the man is gone. When I first heard that OJ was celebrated at BET, I was like, well, what else is BET gonna do? What else are they gonna do? Why wouldn't they do that? I would have been like, whoa, y'all didn't celebrate OJ? Yes, away, man. Listen, the only thing BET really is missing is like buckets of fried chicken and Kool-Aid all over the place. They do everything else. So why not have OJ in there? So that's why I'm part about this with Stevie A talking about, oh yeah, you know what I'm saying? Black excellence. Like we have to, this is black. I brought that up last week that, people are going to still try to throw that around. This thing has been from classy of an event. And even if it wasn't classy and if it was trashy or whatever, the mere fact that he's polarizing and he was found innocent for the egregious stuff, I know he did some other things too, but for the thing that everybody want to crucify him for, he was found not guilty for that. So I think that's good enough. I mean, hell, he's in the Hall of Fame. So let the man rock out. He can get a BET honor shout out. But the problem that I have with Stephen A is the fact that he went so hard, the fact that he's saying that people outside our community are going to see, well, see, there you go, that this is what they stand for. And it's just like, bro, I mean, I don't feel that way. And, he's just giving us a peek of how he thinks. And he thinks a lot about what other people are thinking about him or us. And he reacts and moves off that. And to me, I don't, it can lead to dishonorable things. And so in this situation here, I feel as though this was best left unsaid. This was best left at the cooler with you and your buddy. But this wasn't, I don't feel like he should have aired this out. And he could have had his disagreement, but he didn't have to go so hard. But this is Stephen A. Smith, shock jock of the 21st century. This is how they look nowadays. This is how they come off, and this is how they behave. So he wanted attention. He got it. Faison Love ripped into him. So did Willie D from Ghetto Boys. They both tore into this guy because of this rant here. But so yeah, nobody's letting this go unturned. People are still calling this clown out for his clownish behaviors. But what are your thoughts on Stephen A. Smith turning up on BET for honoring the late great OJ's. Oh, you can't even say great. Nah, man. Hey, he played football well. So what's up, man?
Yeah,
How you
man. Stephen A. Smith is a gas bag. I respect his career. I really
feel?
do. I respect the fact that he came up, put his work in as a journalist for 20 years, putting in the work, you know, being a beat writer, reporting on stuff. I got respect for his career trajectory.
Mm-hmm.
But now that he is a full-on media personality and gas bag,
Mm-hmm.
um, I find myself sometimes rolling my eyes at some of the stances that he decides to take. The difficult spot that Stephen A. Smith finds himself in my opinion, is that he tries to conveniently bounce back and forth too much between being a corporate employee and being a spokesperson for his community. Oftentimes, those two things are in direct contrast with one another. Good luck trying to toe that line. Eventually, you're going to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing, and you're
Right.
either going to get ostracized from your community or you're going to get fired from your $10+ million contract. One of those two things is going to take place. And if I had to guess which one of those is going to be, it's going to be ostracization, because I don't think Stephen A. Smith is going to take community over his $12 million, $15 million ESPN Disney contract. But that's just my personal opinion. But in saying that, because he's constantly trying to toe this weirdo line between being a corporate employee and being a spokesperson for his community, he takes stances like this and engages in ridiculous righteous indignation. First of all, uh, BET. Um, my biggest issue with his stance is in his uh acquiescence to the belief that BET is indeed the showcase for Black excellence.
All right, man.
That's where he lost it with me. Like, you want to get, like, you're getting upset because they are deciding to honor OJ Simpson in memoriam, yet the entire 3 hours of that program is nothing but buffoonery and tomfoolerish behavior that
Exactly.
one can argue makes the community look bad overall. So,
Exactly.
like, if you really want to go there, let's call out some of the unsavory behavior that we see put on display during that award show that calls attention to the community by the rest of society at large, because that is taking place. The BET Awards, for all intents and purposes, in my opinion, has replaced the Source Awards.
Mm-hmm.
What the Source Awards used to be is what the BET Awards are now.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put on display Black culture. But what do we call Black culture? Box
Boy.
rapping, twerking, gun rap, prison rap, uh, you know, dope boy rap, trap rap, and then we'll sprinkle in a little bit of, lifetime achievement, an actor and an actress, and we'll call it a day. But otherwise, we're spotlighting a lack of balance when it comes to an accurate representation of the culture of Black arts, because that's what the BET Awards are, in my opinion. And that's what I mentioned last week when we talked about what was that we talked about last week when we brought this up? Um, MC Light. I
Oh.
think it was MC Light. It was one of those topics that we did. It's like, listen, there is an entire tapestry, a diaspora of Black art that we need to be able to showcase on a regular basis. But what we are allowing the BET Awards and BET as an entity to stand in for is the complete and utter tapestry and representation of Black art. Yet when you tune in to watch their biggest show of the year, their grand showcase, their award show, it's a lot of twerking, rapping. It's a lot of twerking and, half naked and all of this other kind of stuff. And my thing is, like, I don't have a problem with that stuff. But where's the balance? There's no balance. And I think that's what we call into question. And so to use that as your example of the spotlight of Black excellence when it comes to the arts and entertainment in the West, in the US, I think is a far cry from the actual representation of what black art should be. And so, because that's how I think about the BET Awards, like you, I relent. If they want to spotlight OJ Simpson, why not? I would be surprised if they didn't, given the context that I put the BET Awards in. There's no balance inherent in that thing. It's the Source Awards 2024 version. That's kind of how I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, bring in country music artists who are black. Bring in rock and roll country. Bring in black rock and roll artists. Bring in black artists who are still doing blues and jazz. Do a better job of spotlighting R&B. You got Donald Glover talking about how he doesn't get enough BET Awards recognition. Expand your categories to include television written by black artists, directed by black directors, acted in by black actors. If this is indeed the overall showcase of black excellence, but it's very, it's segmented to me. And because it's segmented, yeah, spotlight OJ, who cares? I mean, he did have a great career as a pro, and whether he turned his back on black people or not, that never seemed to be a prerequisite for not getting acknowledged at the BET Awards anyway. So who gives a damn?
Exactly.
So this whole thing, Stephen A. Smith likes to play this game where he has his feet in two different sands. I'm a corporate employee who falls in line sand, and I'm a spokesperson for my people sand. And he cherry picks the things that he's going to go off about in order to speak on behalf of the community. And it's some of the easiest things to cherry pick. Like, oh, OJ Simpson, look what he did in his past. Let's not talk about him. Oh, somebody got shot by the cops. A black head coach got fired. Low-hanging fruit that's easy to talk about. No one's gonna fire him for that. And he does that on too often enough of an occasion for me to take a lot of his comments seriously. So I have respect for his career in the past, the work that he put in, but I largely think that this kind of stuff to me is water under the bridge, and I just ignore it as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, man, and you brought up a good point, man, when talking about BET and just it being basically like the Source Awards, just a new version of it. And you got to ask yourself, what do these board meetings look like? What are they saying? Do we really want to see these things? Or we'll have Lotto come out here and twerk a little bit, and then Suki Hana and Megan Thee Stallion to be next. People love their twerking, and so when you got a whole,
they probably got like a Venn diagram up on their board, up on the whiteboard. It's like, have we reached our twerking quota? How much more twerking do we need?
You know what I'm saying? Because at that point they had to probably add at least three more women up there, Ice Spice and so on. We need more twerking. Because as far as I'm concerned, because I only saw highlights, if you want to call it that, of the event, and all I saw was booty shaking. I saw Tiana Taylor dressed like a man, dancing with a woman. I said, what is happening right now? And this is black excellence. This is black excellence. So all that stuff, then that was the point you made. Out of all that stuff that was going on stage, you chose to talk about OJ after he, the man dead. You chose about OJ, but you've just forget about all other stuff. So that's black excellence. Us twerking up a storm. Just turning a place into Magic City. There's no need for that. So you gotta ask yourself, a business, a channel, a TV channel, whatever you want to call this thing, that was seen as a cornerstone in black culture, because at the time when there was only 30-something channels, we had one, and it was for black people, and they had shows on there that was like, all right, kind of cool.
Yeah. Not to cut you off, not to cut you off, but also, and we can't stress this enough, but back then, during this time that you're talking about, said channel was actually owned by black people.
Correct. So they had shows like the news, they had the Teen Summit stuff where they're talking about some hardcore topics, you know, and they're dealing with things. And it was like, all right, it's a nice vibe, you know, and yeah, they'll still play their ratchet stuff, so, you know, at the time, at least relatively, and it'll still be that, but there was a balance, as you mentioned. And so then you had at night with the slow jam stuff, jazz, like it was a vibe. And so, mind you, there's only 30 something channels and we got one. So it had an impact. And so then when things started to progress, it got sold and all this other stuff. Then you started to check in with BET and it's this watered down version. The news is gone. The shows helping try to build teams up is gone. Now it's just rigmarole. And, you know, they're showing like the best kingpins that ever was in the hood or whatever. And they said, this guy sold so many bricks. And he sold it. And, you know, and I was like, look at all this production they putting into glorifying drug dealers. All the movies are centered around crime and drugs and all kinds of stuff. And this is what the programming they choose to put on. And so when you're dealing with a company that's doing that, then no wonder it devolves into just twerking and all this other madness that's going on. So whether you like OJ or not, feel like he should have been honored or not, some people are on the fence about it, which is, again, like you mentioned, low-hanging fruit. And so since it's a kind of an on the fence type of thing, BET is in the space with, hell, throw it in the pot.
Yes.
Hell, throw it in there. Shoot, that's more pub for us, you know, because they knew it was going to make headlines. And they got what they wanted. And that's what they do everything for. It's for headlines. You know, one of these twerking videos going to hit. If it ain't Lotto, it's Megan Thee Stallion. One of these is going to hit. And that's what they're doing. Everything's for shock. So if that's what entertainment has devolved into, then I guess it is black entertainment television, you know. But mind you, as I always say on all of these things, everybody, you know what I'm saying? I don't really necessarily believe in the word entertainment as they give it to us, you know. That once you intake this stuff, as we all know, you know, you are what you eat. So physically you are that, and mentally you are that. And if you're intaking all of this violence, drama, and all of this other chaos on a consistent basis, that's what your reality is going to ultimately end up manifesting, or you at least going to end up living around it. It's going to be in your circumstances. And then now we stay in these loops along with the music, with the television. It's a recipe for our current circumstances. So I don't necessarily call it entertainment. So BET is doing its job to make sure that we stay in that bubble. And so yeah, I don't put anything past them, but Stephen A, he can go kick rocks. I just don't like how he did this. You know, I'm on the fence person about this topic, but I still lean on the side of, hey man, why not? You know, let the man rock out. You mean, he's gone. And but for him to lay into that like that, I just found that highly dishonorable, and he just needs to fall back. But again, this is Stephen A. Smith. He's gonna rub people the wrong way again next week. Most likely we'll be here to cover.
I didn't like it. Yeah. It was. Yeah, I think he just cherry picks his righteousness, which most people in the media, that's what they do. But my thing is, within the context of the BET Awards, I'm sorry, but I'm rolling my eyes. I don't take it seriously, bro, because I see so much foolishness whenever I even gloss over that channel all the time. That if you want to call out the awards show for honoring a guy who's no longer here, then call out that same corporate entity for some of the other disparaging and damaging images that they put on display that I think do our community just as much of a disservice. But he never does that. He just wants to singularly be on whatever stance of righteousness that he's on so that he can call attention to himself, while also being able to toe that company line and remain ESPN's highest paid employee. So I just can't. I'm sorry, but I wasn't a big fan of it. I really don't like that kind of stuff. Call out some of the stuff that matters, bro.
Hey, last thing I'll say, and he's no longer the highest paid. Now that Pat McAfee's over there and a little Shay Shay.
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is, he's trying to negotiate to be the highest paid now.
Correct. So he's doing all of this publicity stuff, And that's what I feel like he's just doing a lot of stuff to try to get his name out there. And he's in the lane of any publicity is good publicity. So he'll say and do anything at this point. And the one thing I think he's failing to realize is that the people out there are smarter than he thinks. And I think a lot of people are having enough of this man, to be honest. So just keep it up. Just keep it up, bro. You just continue to expose yourself. The more you keep it up.
Yeah. He's become too much of a gas bag for me now. He's part of the reason why I watch Fox more than ESPN at this point. But shouts out to OJ, man. Rest in peace, bro.
Yeah, man.
They ain't gonna like that.
Cancel him.
Oh.